Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make this tote bag. To make the tote bag, I'll be using this denim fabric and this flowery patterned fabric. I'll be using the denim fabric for the main part of the bag and also for the handles, and I'll be using this as my lining and the accent fabric as well. Let's sew. I've cut out my fabric pieces. The denim fabric measures 6.5 by 28 inches, and I've got 2 of them. And for this fabric piece, it measures 4 inches by 28 inches. So I'll be arranging this way. So the denim fabric will be on each side of the flower patterned fabric. I'll place the denim piece, one of them, right side facing with the other fabric, pin, and I'll be sewing both fabrics together. I'll repeat for the other side, so I'll place it right side facing, pin, and sew down the length. So I've finished sewing the fabric pieces together and it looked like this. Next, I'll be working with one side of my fabric piece. So I'll turn it this way. Then I will line up my 2 stitch line. So I'm folding it this way. So I'll make sure my stitch line are lined up. Then I'll be pinning right on the stitch line. So make sure your seams are lined up and you'll be sewing on top of your stitch line. I'll repeat for the other side and fold to join the 2 stitch lines together. Line them up and then you pin right on the stitch line, because that way you'll be stitching on. So this is how the pleats for the bag are formed. So I'll be taking it to my sewing machine, then I'll stitch down 3 inches. So I'll just take my ruler and measure. So I'll be stop at the 3-inch mark, and I'll repeat for the same for the other side. So 3 inches from the top. So this is where I'll finish my stitching here. I've sewn my pleats 3 inches down from each end. When you open it up, you get this. So your pleats are in place. Next, I'll be folding my fabric right side facing into 2. clip in place. I'll line up my sides first. I'm going to go ahead and press my pleats so that they don't get in the way. I'll clip that in place. I'll do that for the other side. So I'll just open it up this way. And clip together. So I'm going to sew only the two sides. So after sewing the sides of the outer piece, I'll be boxing the bottom part of the bag. So I'm just pulling apart the So I'll use my tape rule to measure 2 inches downwards. And that's where I'll be sewing. I'll repeat for the other side. So I'll sew down the lines. Sew. Then I'll trim it down. I'll turn the outer part to the right side. Push out the corners. And you get this. I'll attach my handles to the outer fabric, so it's 2 inches away from the edge. I'll put a clip in to hold it in place. So make sure your handles are not twisted. I'll repeat for the other side. So I'll just sew within the seam allowance the handles to the bag. I've sewn my handles in place. Next, I'll be cutting out my lining. For my lining, I've cut a rectangle measuring 17 inches by 28 inches. So I've folded this into 2. So I've marked 6.5 inches from the side. So from both sides, so it's 6.5 inches from the left side and 6.5 inches from the right side. I've repeated the same for the other side, so 6.5 inches and 6.5 inches. So this is on the open part of the fabric. The folded edge is at the bottom, still intact. So I'll make my pleats first. So by bringing the two marks together, then I'll sew 3 inches on the wrong side. So this way. So this is easier. So just fold your fabric into two. Match up your 2 6 inches line. Can pin. So you'll be sewing down 3 inches downwards. I repeat for the other edge. So fold it together. So line up the 6.5 inches mark. Pin in place. Then you'll be sewing 3 inches downwards. So this is your first pleat, and when you turn to the other side, it's the other pleat. So with right sides facing, we're going to fold it into half again. Matching up the sides. So remember, my folded part, the folded part is still down here. I'll clip this in place. Repeat for the other side. So I'll just go to my sewing machine and sew down the side edges and leave a 2-inch gap on one of the sides. Sew down the other side. Then I'll press open my pleats on both sides. Then I'll also go ahead and box the bottom of the lining. So I'm just repeating what I did for the outer part for the lining as well. I'm going to assemble the bag now. So my outer piece is facing the right side out. And I've tucked the handles out of the way. So I'm going to put it inside the inner fabric with the wrong side out. So I'll be lining up my side seams. Make sure the handles are out of the way. So I've pinned round the bag. So I'm going to sew around the edges. Then don't forget that I've left an opening on the side of the lining for turning out. So I'll go to my sewing machine now and sew around the top of the bag. I've finished sewing around the top of the bag, so I'll use the gap on the side to flip it to the outside. So I'll push the lining in. So I'll go ahead and iron this, then come back and do a row of top stitch around the top of the bag. I finished sewing around the top of the bag. So I did a row of top stitching and the bag is done. And the bag can also be used reversed on the other side. Well, I prefer it this way because of the contrasting fabrics. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and check the link below for the dimensions for the bag. I'll see you again next time. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.